Hello everybody and welcome again to another Koopafantasy video. I am Koopafantasy or Blackie_Mike on Twitter if you follow me there. I am going to go over my top 15 tight ends going into this fantasy football season. That is the year of 2012 to 2013. I'm going to get right into it. Alright, number 1, ladies and gentlemen, is no surprise Gronkowski. The guy was a monster last year. He's a matchup nightmare for any team he plays. There's not going to be any stopping him this year when he's got Tom Brady throwing to him again. I think Gronk is going to be a lock for minimum double-digit touchdowns, probably like 13, 14 or something. Number 2 is Jimmy Graham, who was amazing for yardage. I think he had like 9 TDs as well. Gronk and Graham are easily 1 and 2, and then that's where the drop-off begins. My number 3 is Antonio Gates. He's extremely talented. The big problem with him has been keeping him on the field. He's had a lot of problems with his feet and his ankles and that. But if Antonio Gates can get healthy and play a good like 12, 13, 14, 15, possibly even 16 games, then he's going to be a stud the way he always is. He plays like a wide receiver. He's so talented out there. And Phillip Rivers loves throwing him the ball. So we have Gronk, Graham, Gates, and then on number 4, Jason Witten. Tony Romo's one of his favorite targets the last couple of years. Witten is just the model consistency at tight end. He's always approaching 1,000 yards with a pretty decent TD total. I think Witten is one of the safest tight ends once you get out of the top 2. Number 5 is Vernon Davis. This guy's a beastly tight end. He's the most talented receiving option in San Fran. They have lots of new wide receivers now, but if you want the most talented set of hands on that team, it's still Vernon Davis. So there's going to be some more competition for him there, but that also means he might not be as crowded up with double team stuff like that. So I'm not really too sure what to expect from Vernon Davis this year, but I think it could. I think with his talent and his skill set, he'll be good for you. Number 6 is Jermichael Finley for the Green Bay Packers. He was maybe a little bit of a bust last year. There was actually one of my leagues, a guy, I think after about the first 3 weeks, he was pretty slow. One of the guys dropped him, and someone else picked him up like the next day, and he just went off after that. So off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly how good Finley's year was. I don't think it was spectacular, but I still think as long as he's attached to that Green Bay offense and has Aaron Rodgers hucking him the ball, then you gotta take a shot at the guy. And then we have Brent Selleck, who was had a pretty good year last year, bit of a resurgence. Like Michael Vick at one point came out and said he needs to throw the ball to Brent Selleck more, and he did, and it paid dividends for him. They got a few wins. Brent Selleck had some huge games, and to me, Brent Selleck is an extremely underrated talent at tight end, and the Eagles really need to use him this year. Number 8 is Aaron Hernandez. So inside the top 10, you have 2 wide receivers from the same team, the Patriots, because they use a 2 TE set like crazy, and you know teams are gonna try to stop Gronkowski this year a bit more. So that could mean Hernandez has a few more open looks coming his way. Number 9 is Tony Gonzalez. This guy's ageless. He's been around forever. Plays for the Falcons. I'm sure you know that. As long as he's on the field, I think Gonzalez warrants a top 10 pick at tight end again. You can't really expect anything huge from him, but there's no saying when he'll go for 80 yards and a TD in any given week. Last on my top 10 is Pettigrew for the Lions. I actually had Pettigrew on my team last year. He wasn't quite as big as I had hoped, but I think that Pettigrew's going to have an even better year this year. Tony Scheffler was the bane of my existence last year, owning Brandon Pettigrew. Kept stealing TDs, sometimes like 2 in a week. It was killing me. I think Tony Scheffler takes a step back while Brandon Pettigrew takes a step forward, and the Lions' offense just becomes even more potent. Number 11, Jermaine Gresham of the Cincinnati Bengals. You got Andy Dalton, who's looking to be a very talented young quarterback going into a sophomore year. He can't be going to A.J. Green all day, every day, so you know he's going to want to go to his tight end, Jermaine Gresham, who's actually a very young and talented player. I'm expecting some pretty big things from Gresham this year. After that, we have Owen Daniels, who missed a lot last year with injuries, but he's still, after Andre Johnson, he's the best wide receiver on the Houston Texans, so you know Matt Schaub is going to have to target him eventually. And I guess a lot of it's going to do with his health. When he's 100% healthy, he can be a very, very potent offensive player. The only thing is, will he be healthy? I think right now he's looking pretty good. He's had a lot of time off to get healthy, so I think Daniels can return to the form he had in say 08, 09, years like that. And then next up is Jacob Tamme, who is playing still with Peyton Manning now that he's in Denver. He is. What do I say about Tamme? I've got a lot of. I think this guy's a bit of a sleeper at tight end. If Peyton Manning is back to even a fraction of his old form, then Tamme is going to see a ton of targets, and I think he's going to have a great year as a sleeper. After Tamme, my final two are Jared Cook Jr. for the Tennessee Titans. Sorry, a little mind went blank there. The Tennessee Titans, Jared Cook Jr., he's been a bit of a sleeper the last 2 years, and I think this is the year he finally makes that push to be a viable tight end option week after week. And then rounding up the top 15 is Coby Fleener, who could actually end up being an even bigger steal than this. Coby Fleener is playing with Luck in Indianapolis. Luck is going to have his struggles being a rookie quarterback, but Fleener and him played together in college. They have repertoire together. So you can easily see Luck looking Fleener's way more often than not when he's in trouble and just needs to get the ball out of his hands. So that is my top 15 tight ends. That went pretty quick, so I'm just going to run over them for you guys real quick here. Number 1, Gronkowski. Number 2, Graham. Number 3, Gates. Number 4, Witten. Number 5, Vernon Davis. Number 6, Jermichael Finley. Number 7 is Selleck. Number 8, Hernandez. Number 9, Tony Gonzalez. Number 10, Brandon Pettigrew. Number 11, Jermaine Gresham. Number 12, Owen Daniels. 13 is Jacob Tamme. 14 is Jared Cook Jr. And 15 is Coby Fleener. Alright guys, thank you very much for taking the time to watch and or listen, whichever you're doing here. Please take the time to visit my blog. I appreciate every single view I get. If you've got the time, read the articles, comment, rate them, get into discussions with me. I love talking fantasy football all day, all night. So be sure to check out my blog, guys. It's Koopafantasy, Koopa fantasy.wordpress.com, or you can find me on Twitter @Blackie_Mike, and just ask me questions about football. I'm a huge sports fanatic in general, so if you just want to talk baseball, football, anything that's going on right now, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on my blog. I look forward to hearing from you guys. This is Koopa Fantasy, and I'll see you guys later. Hello everybody, welcome to another fantasy football video with me, Koopa Fantasy. In this video, I'm going to try to quickly go over the recent fantasy draft that I did. The draft was done on Yahoo Sports using standard scoring because I want to make this as applicable to as many people as possible. So yeah, I drafted a team, 12-man league, standard scoring and settings, and now I'm going to talk about the draft, the picks I made, why I made them, and hopefully we'll all learn something. Alright, let's get into this, guys. Alright, so in the draft, I was given the number 9 overall pick out of 12 people, so not the greatest, but middle to the end of the pack. So here's picks number 1 to 8 in order: Aaron Rodgers, Arian Foster, LaShawn McCoy, Ray Rice, Calvin Johnson, Drew Brees, Cam Newton, and Ryan Matthews. So for me, it was a pretty easy choice. I went with MJD. I get to have a powerhouse running back, led the league last year for running backs. And just one of those guys who you pretty much know exactly what you're getting. He's very durable. He's like the main weapon on his team. So I'm very happy having a workhorse running back with the number 9 overall pick. Picks 10 to 15: Chris Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, Tom Brady, Victor Cruz as a bit of a reach, if you ask me. A huge reach actually. Matt Stafford, Adrian Peterson. Another reach because Adrian Peterson's likely to be missing time due to the injury. So I wouldn't be drafting AP that early if it was me. So the draft came back to me with the number 16 pick. I didn't really plan on drafting a tight end this early, but because Rob Gronkowski was sitting there looking right at me, the next options available weren't that great to me. I could have drafted another great running back and had my 2 running back set complete, but I decided I'd go with Rob Gronkowski and go with the nightmare matchup that he is. I'd also thought about drafting a wide receiver like Roddy White or Steve Smith, someone like that. But I kind of figured I'd be able to grab another high-end wide receiver in the next round. So with my pick at number 16 overall, I went with Rob Gronkowski, and hopefully he's going to catch a crap load of TDs for me this year. Picks 17 to 32 in order were Trent Richardson, Darren McFadden, Wes Welker, Steve Smith, Jimmy Graham, Roddy White, Andre Johnson, Matt Forte, Brendan Marshall, Greg Jennings, Michael Turner, Marshawn Lynch, Steven Jackson, DeMarco Murray, and A.J. Green and Mike Wallace. Then it came back to me with pick number 33. So I already have a running back. I already have an elite level tight end. So now I pretty much know that I want to get myself some wide receivers. I'm going to be playing 3 of them every single week. I need to get into the wide receivers right now. So the top pick to me was easy. There was Demaryius Thomas and Jordy Nelson and Julio Jones. But I went with Hakeem Nicks, the number 1 wide receiver for the Giants. Pretty much a lock for 1,000+ yards. I think that Victor Cruz is going to regress from last year, and Hakeem Nicks may get to steal some of those yards. In my eyes, he's the safer pick of him and Cruz. Victor Cruz had already been taken. So yeah, Hakeem Nicks, number 33 overall, I thought was a great pick. I was a little bit tempted to take Jordy Nelson because the TDs he caught last year, but I think, like I said, Hakeem Nicks, way safer. Then picks 34 to 39 were Jordy Nelson, Jamal Charles, Darren Sproles, Demaryius Thomas, Julio Jones, and Michael Vick. So it comes back to me with pick number 40. I know I want another wide receiver, so I go with Percy Harvin. He's my favorite player in the entire league. He was a non-Dolphin. In his rookie year, I grabbed this guy off the waiver wire, and pretty sure he was one of the main reasons I won the championship in that league. Last year was his best year as a pro. You didn't really hear much about those migraines for the first time in a while. He was off to a slow start, but once Christian Ponder took over, his stats exploded. So with Christian Ponder at QB this year, I expect Percy Harvin to have some more 6 stats. And AP not being around, that could hurt, could help Percy. It means like if there's no AP, it means you mean Percy all day, every day for Minnesota. But it also will mean defenses are going to be catering to try to stop him. And I've also, if you go to my my blog at koopafantasy.wordpress.com, I have linked in Percy's description a little article that I read about him that I thought was pretty in depth, and it really showed, and I agreed with it, why he's going to be a great player this year. So picks 41 to 56, Miles Austin, Gates, Fred Jackson, Eli Manning, Colston, Peyton Manning, Frank Gore, Mark Bradshaw, Romo, Macklin, Vincent Jackson, Des Bryant, Dwayne Bowe, Aaron Hernandez, Roy Halou, and Kenny Britt. So it came back to me, and let's recap. I already have a sick running back. I have a sick tight end. I got 2 quality wide receivers. I still need a QB, so that's what I went with here. It's pick number 57, and I grabbed Phillip Rivers. All the elite level quarterbacks are obviously off the board. I believe, yeah, like I said, Tony Romo had just left. And to me, Tony Romo and Phillip Rivers are pretty neck and neck. So once I saw Tony Romo go, I knew that it was going to be a bit of a drop to the next quarterbacks if I don't get Rivers. And so that's what I did. I drafted Phillip Rivers. Actually, a little something I want to point out is I actually had my cursor highlighted over Kenny Britt, because I would plan on drafting Kenny Britt, having a sick trio, because I think Kenny Britt's going to be a huge sleeper this year. Could end up being a top 10 wide receiver. And the guy right in front of me drafted him. It doesn't happen very often, but it did this time. Like, it was literally, oh, I have to, one more guy picks than me, but he took him. So, oh well, big deal. I got Phillip Rivers. I'm pretty happy. Alright, the next couple picks were Vernon Davis, Antonio Brown, Doug Martin, Torrey Smith, Brendan Jackson, and San Fran D. I don't dip into defenses anywhere near this point yet. I wait till the very last round pretty much to get my kicker in defense. So at this point, I knew I needed another wide receiver or running back. Running back value was really dropping off. There was not a whole lot available. So I went with pretty much the last guy I thought had a really good chance of getting 1,000 yards. And that's Reggie Bush. And it's also, I'm going to be a little bit biased here because I am a Dolphins fan. I will never hide that. So I picked Reggie Bush. There's a bit of, to me, this is obviously the weak point of my team when you see it all, when it's all said and done. Like I even say it on my blog post, this is the least satisfying pick in terms of fantasy potential. But the Dolphin fan inside of me is pretty happy right now. And he did say he was going to go for the league title this year. So you actually could see some more big things from Reggie Bush. I'm not going to stop naming all the picks in between me. It came back to me at pick 81. And there have basically been a lot of mid-rank wide receiver running backs picked. I'll name some highlights and some. Deshaun Jackson was picked. Sean Green, Reggie Wayne, Matt Ryan. Probably the best, bit of a sleeper right there. Pick 80 was Matt Ryan, so I thought that was a bit of a steal. So pick 81 comes back to me. I need a wide receiver still to complete my wide receiver trio. So I grab Eric Decker. This pick heavily rides the success of Peyton Manning, but I'm still pretty happy with it. The talent level at wide receiver was about to take a huge drop off, with Laurent Robinson being the next best available in my eyes. So I saw Decker, and I didn't think twice about grabbing him. If Peyton Manning plays all 16 games, I think Decker can end up being a lot more valuable than a usual number 3 wide receiver. So now with having Nix, Harvin, and Decker, I'm actually very, very happy with my wide receivers for this year in this league. It came back to me at pick 88. The next pick after me was Laurent Robinson, so yeah, a big drop off. Pick number 88, I accidentally picked Baltimore defense. This actually was an accident. My internet had been going in and out. It hadn't affected me up until this point when I was about to draft Beanie Wells as a backup running back, and all of a sudden it lags out, comes back, and I have Baltimore defense on my team. So yeah, it kind of sucked. And then it finally comes back to me again at pick 105, and I need like at this point in the draft, all I'm thinking is I want the best running backs and best wide receivers available as backups. And I saw Robert Meacham, who is technically the #1 option on his team, being thrown to by a very talented Phillip Rivers. Some people think he's a bit overvalued. That's why he's on my bench to start the year. He's the number 4 kind of guy right now. He will be coming in to replace bye weeks, maybe if someone gets hurt. But I think as a replacement wide receiver, Robert Meacham's a great pickup. The situation has a lot of upside for him. And then it came back to me at pick 112, and I'm still thinking I need some backup running backs. I'm not completely pumped with what I got, but I got Michael LaSure. Some people are talking about Javid Best, but given his history with concussions and all that, I do not think Javid Best is going to be the option that Detroit wants to go with. After the Michael LaSure misses the first 2 games this season, I think he comes in and he's the bell cow for them. And they'll be throwing a lot with Calvin Johnson and Matt Stafford, and it's going to create some open lanes for Michael LaSure, who is also known to be a bit of a pretty decent ball catcher as well. So Michael LaSure, not the greatest backup pick, a bit of up and down, but if there's a big ceiling for him, but also a pretty low floor, so let's just hope that he goes towards the ceiling. Alright, pick 129 for me. I went with Titus Young. He's the backup wide receiver to Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson, which means he'll probably be getting open quite a bit as double coverage rolls the way of Calvin Johnson. I could see Brendan Pettigrew kind of being the number 2 technically behind Calvin Johnson as a tight end, but Titus Young is a second-year player. He's going to see an increase in targets, and he's going to see an increase in overall potential and value from last year. And then it came back to me. I went with another backup running back, C.J. Spiller. I had someone on my blog argue to me that Spiller should be around a top 50 pick in this year's drafts. While I don't agree with that, I got him number 136 myself. That kind of shows that people in this draft wouldn't agree with him either. But anyway, C.J. Spiller has a lot of upside to him. Should Fred Jackson not repeat from last year, or should he get hurt again? C.J. Spiller, they put a lot into this guy, drafting him, I believe, number 4th overall a couple years ago. So they have a lot invested in C.J. Spiller, and people would not be surprised if they try to use him in a lot more ways this year. So my backup running backs are Michael LaSure and C.J. Spiller. Backup wide receivers so far are Robert Meacham and Titus Young. And when it came back to me, again, I went with a backup. This time at quarterback, I got Matt Moore. Again, the Dolphin fan inside me just kind of went with it. I can't really explain this pick. It was either Matt Moore or Sam Bradford as my backup quarterback. I ended up going Matt Moore, basically because he wears a Dolphins uniform. Alright, then it came back to me. Oh, sorry, guys. I skipped the pick. Before I picked Matt Moore, which is 160 overall, at 153, I drafted Vincent Brown, another San Diego Chargers wide receiver. Should Robert Meacham kind of not live up to expectations of what he can be as a Charger, I think Vincent Brown gets a huge bump. He showed flashes of extreme skill and talent last year, and I think that by having both these wide receivers, I'm guaranteed to have one of them who's going to be worth cracking the starting lineup. Phillip Rivers routinely throws for 4,000 yards. Someone's going to be catching those yards. It's going to be either Meacham or Antonio Gates or Vincent Brown. And but besides Gates, to me, I have all of the best options for Phillip Rivers targets. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then was the Matt Moore pick. And then it came back to me. I went with Billy Cundiff as my kicker, which, believe it or not, was once again actually the computer lagging out. Apparently, when my computer lags out, it likes to draft me Ravens players. And then, so here we go, guys. My final roster. If you'd like, leave a comment. Let me know what you think, where I made mistakes, where I could have made improvements. If you go to my blog, www.koopafantasy.wordpress.com, I have this whole thing written out, so you can look at it that way and make fun of me on there. All right, my quarterback is Phillip Rivers. My running back is Maurice Jones-Drew and Reggie Bush. My wide receivers are Hakeem Nicks, Percy Harvin, and Eric Decker. My tight end is Rob Gronkowski. My defense is Baltimore. My kicker is Willie Cundiff from Baltimore. And my bench players are Robert Meacham, Titus Young, and Vincent Brown. Mikel LaShore and C.J. Spiller. And quarterback Matt Moore. So guys, the draft is over. My lineup is set. Let me know what you think. Take time and comment on this video. Take the time to check out my blog and read the article there. It's a bit more in-depth. If you want to argue with me, I wouldn't say argue. If you want to debate with me over my picks, then this is that's the place to do that, or do it right below this video. And I reply to pretty much every single comment I get. I'm very active with this stuff. It's an addiction for me. So don't be afraid to ask questions. If you ever want advice, or if you feel you need to give me advice because I'm screwing up royally, that's cool. Let me know. Alright, before this goes on too long, we're closing in on 15 minutes. I have one little question. If you could have the choice between Phillip Rivers and Eric Decker, which I do, would you keep them or would you trade them for Matt Ryan and Antonio Brown? Someone pointed out to me that I could have had that option instead of having Rivers and Decker. I could have had Ryan and Brown. I prefer Rivers and Decker right now, but this guy kept trying to tell me that Matt Ryan and Antonio Brown would be the better option. Anyways, guys, this is Koopa Fantasy. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. Check out my blog at koopafantasy.wordpress.com. Follow me on Twitter, Blackie_Mike, or just look up Koopa Fantasy on Twitter. You'll find me either way. Chat with me, ask me questions, whatever. Thanks a lot, guys. Peace.